Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this Sex and Stress Salon. I came across the term salon last year sometime, I can't recall, and I loved it. It was historically speaking like 16th through 18th centuries. Salons were spaces where like sophisticated, educated women would gather to discuss ideas, to create, and so often the intention of what was called a salon was to educate and inspire and like please the women in attendance, for something for them to enjoy and be stimulated by. And I loved that as a concept and a terminology. So I was like, I can put masterclasses in the bin because that's such a dry word. And here we are for a virtual salon. And sex and stress is such a fun, juicy topic for us driven women. Lots and lots of women talk to me about how they feel like sex and productivity or pleasure. So when I say sex, let me preface this. This is important. I'm not talking about sex as the act of like penetration or touching genitals even. Um that this is not about a sex act. Your sex is about your sexual energy, your pleasure, your turn on, and the way that you experience that inside your body. What you choose to do with that, what sex acts, or who you choose to share that with, or how you want to practically engage with your sexual energy is like a smorgasbord of free choice. But what we're talking about tonight is not the acts, but the energy underneath and your pleasure and your eroticism, your aliveness, which is such a spark of vitality. And if we are to distill it down, I see your sexuality and your eros as like a creative spark. It is literally the spark from which new life springs forth when humans feel the spark of attraction and have sex and make a baby. So this is creative life force. And yes, it's really fun to share that with other people or to share that with yourself and to physically play in that space. But it can be so much broader, so much more than that. And so many women that I've worked with describe experiencing their sex and their pleasure and their like eroticism and their productivity and their doingness, their task orientation or their goals as living in two separate boxes or two separate like spheres of their lives. It's like they've got these two personalities. They can step into I'm being the boss lady and I'm running my dental practice or I'm running my whatever thing that uh, she might be doing. And then when she steps into her pleasure and eroticism, it's like she puts down boss lady, takes that hat off, puts it down, and steps into uh, turned on woman. And that's in the context of like turned on woman only gets to come out so often when it's like I'm having sex with my husband or I am with a person and we are having sex or doing sexual things. And that's when turned on woman gets to come out of like the closet that she lives in inside your internal world. And in so many women, I have seen this beautiful, like awakening of their aliveness and their spark when they start to bring the productive, high achieving lady closer together with the turned on woman and like get the two of those internal aspects of themselves to get to know each other a little bit more because the turned on woman is like creative and resourceful and powerful, and she's a bit liberated from shame. She's like, I don't give a fuck how I look. This feels good. I want this. I want that. I don't want that. She has so much permission. And so when we can bring a trickle of her into our lives, there's just so much rich potential there. And so this topic of sex and stress is like a wellspring of aliveness and creative problem solving that you have right here in your body, in like your natural innate intelligence. And I'm excited to climb in with you about this tonight. There's a famous saying in like the business coaching entrepreneurial space that says, culture eats strategy for breakfast. Have you guys heard that saying before? No? Okay, if you have, uh, and if you haven't, all good. So that's sort of widely acceptable. And if we break that widely accepted, sorry, and if we break that down a little bit, it's like this somewhat intangible thing, which is the culture of our company, being alive and working properly eats the like nuts and bolts and the mechanics of our plan every day for breakfast. Like it is so much more powerful in terms of generating the outcomes and the things that we want. And so my adaptation on that saying is that pleasure eats stress for breakfast. And so in life, particularly if you are a driven, motivated, ambitious type person, you're doing things in the world, it can be really easy to experience stress. It can be really easy to, and I mean, that's true for anyone, but particularly if you're someone who is also motivated towards the goals that are important to you, those you tend to be the type of people who put extra pressure on yourself to succeed, to perform at your best. You have extra high standards and you want great outcomes for yourself, and that can create an intensity and a pressure which is part of the reason why this topic is so rich, particularly for this group of driven ladies. So tonight we're going to be talking about your nervous system and how nervous system states work. And that will be things that some of you are really familiar with, but we're going to be reviewing it in the context of your relationship to stress and your drive in your life and pleasure, and how that sort of ecosystem is all tied together and how we can hack understanding how that works in a way that helps you amplify the things that feel good in life and ultimately, be more successful in the things that you are doing in the world, but more importantly, to enjoy the journey more and to feel good in yourselves along the way, to feel empowered in yourself, to feel alive in yourself while you're pursuing whatever it is that you want to pursue. If you see me peek over here, I have some notes on my other screen, so that's all that's going on. I want to make sure that I don't get too off track and talk too much because that is something that I'm good at. So I'd love to do a little check-in with all of you. If you don't want to share, there's no pressure to, but we have this nice small group tonight. And so I would love to know like what drew you into this topic when you saw sex and stress, what made you go, yes, please. And so, yeah, whoever would like to can just unmute yourself and go for it. And as I said, there's no pressure at all to share if you prefer not to. And if there's anything in particular that sort of resonated from what I've said so far, I'm really up for hearing about that as well. Who would like to share, or would anyone like to share?
I'll share, Nicole.
Hey, Deb.
Yeah, I just find when I'm so stressed, like, yeah, when I get so down with work and family and commitments, I just find that I just find my stress levels are so high.
Yeah.
My sex pleasure, it just goes out the window, like it gets forgotten. And I don't want to do that anymore. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to get that balance right. So I do know when I'm highly stressed, the anger rises in your body.
Mm.
And been working with you, I can now see that and feel it. So yeah, it's not a good thing, but it's good to know now what your body's doing and what you're reacting like and how it resonates with the rest of your life. So that's me.
Thank you, Deb. I love that. And I mean, who else can relate to the more your stress goes up, the more your sex and pleasure get forgotten? I've certainly experienced that before. And there is a degree to which that is totally normal and like biologically normal. Um, and we're also going to talk about how to like unpick that a little bit tonight, because as you said, you don't want to live like that anymore. And go for
I was going to say, mine's the opposite actually,
it. Okay.
but I think there's been a shift from when I was married for like 25 years and
Mhm.
stress, and I didn't want to be with my partner then, but now that I'm single and seeing someone, when I get stressed, I really want that company or that intimacy, that other person around. So I
Yes.
see quite a big change now in the
Yeah.
so I feel the opposite to everybody else at this stage in my life.
Yeah. Oh,
Can go both.
I love hearing that. Yeah, and what a beautiful sign that like, such a beautiful sign about the maturity and the health of that connection, that when you do feel stressed, you want to pull that person closer,
Mm.
as opposed to pushing them away. And this is a really important note that everybody's system does function a little bit differently, right? And when there is that sort of stress and intensity, for some of us, it's like, oh, sex can like relieve some of that as well. It can be relieving. So yeah, thank you for sharing your experience. I appreciate that. Okay, anybody else feel like they want to throw their voice in the mix?
Yeah, so I'm currently in the throes of potentially a career change
Okay.
because stress is doing the whole, oh yeah, we don't want to do this anymore. We don't find this fulfilling. So it has gotten to a point where, yeah, it's become a bit more evident that, trying to find something that's, something that my heart really wants to do rather than just something that I'm good at.
Hmm.
So that's probably what got me hooked more onto to tonight. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. Well done. Hell yes to you finding something that your heart wants to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a that's important. Hell yes.
Mm.
Thank you. Kirsten, anything from you?
Um, I think the last couple of months have been pretty big. So when I saw your email, I was like, you know what? That'll be a nice reset to to get back into to what the future holds. So yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Well, I'm glad that you're here. Thanks for being here. Thanks for making space for it. Okay. So I think all of you guys know me, but I'm gonna just throw a short, like, this is me out, because there's going to be a bunch of people that listen to this recording who I haven't met before. So if you're tuning into this replay and uh, we haven't met, hi, thanks for being here. My name is Nicole and I run the Deeply Satisfied Woman. And I am really delighted to get to work with amazing women like these women, like you, around the world, and to help them to have the things in life, the results in life, the experience in life that's important to them in a more authentic, self-connected, sustainable way. I love talking about what I describe as like the intersection between your femininity and your woman and your success. How do you pursue the things that are important to you in your life, but without abandoning your pleasure and your softness and your aliveness, and a life that actually feels good to you, because in culture we're often quite set up in our world to just do the things and to leave the self behind. And I have a background in professional sport and have been doing this great work with women for about actually 14 years this month, which is really wonderful. And it's been quite a journey. It's been quite a journey of a range of different modalities, and my own experience with burnout from having been a sort of high achieving sports person and going through burnout to find my way into doing the work that I do with women today. And so it's a real pleasure to get to support awesome women to do brilliant things and to do them from a really like yummy, nourished place and a really fulfilled place. So let's talk about your nervous system and your body. This beautiful body of yours, your nervous system is designed, and this body is wired to keep you alive. Your nervous system is wired for safety. And many years ago, many generations ago, our threat response, our threat cues would be scanning for saber-toothed tigers and other large predators and things that would be a physical threat. And they'd also be scanning for things that are like a communal or a relational threat, because our belonging in those days, our tribal sort of belonging, was very important. That if we lost access to the community that we were a part of, there's a really good chance that we wouldn't have lasted very long. And there's this funny truth that the those ancestors, the more scared they were and the more like attuned to threat they were, the more likely they were to survive, because the ancestors or the people of the past who were like, hey, I'm curious about that big cat, maybe I'll go touch it. They were the ones that got eaten. They didn't necessarily do that much reproducing. And so we today have descended from people who were good at detecting threats and keeping themselves alive, and have done so for many generations. So that feels, when we have this modern conscious awareness and self-awareness, it feels a little reductionist, but I'm prefacing this discussion with that little like history spiel, because that is the nervous system and the base brain wiring that we are hanging out with today, that influences our decisions today, that has us scanning our environment for threats today and signs that we do or we don't belong. And in a world where there is so much intensity and so much information, it's easy for that stress system to be amped up all the time. It's become quite accepted that lots and lots of people just live in a state of fight and flight a lot of the time. And way back when, it might have been saber-toothed tigers that we were concerned about, but these days it can be things like the threatening email from your best, your main client canceling on you, or your kids making you late to school because they don't want to put their shoes on, or making you late to work, sorry, because on the way to school they don't want to put their shoes on, or a fight with your spouse. There are, or a co-worker using a particular tone with you, or staff members showing up late. Like, there's a myriad of reasons why there is this compounding stress, and so many women today are juggling, navigating running a business or working in a career that's important to them, alongside having a household and a partner and potentially children in there as well. And so there is this tremendous load that many women carry that creates this like pressure and intensity and stress. And so I just want to do a little screen share with you and talk to you a little about different nervous system states. Where's the share button? So can you see my screen, or can you see a picture? Great. So you don't need to copy this down. I'll send this out in the follow-up email tomorrow, but check it out. When we talk about your nervous system state, there is like a physiological state of your nervous system that then produces and results in you thinking and feeling a certain way. And so we have in this picture an illustration to describe 3 different nervous system states that are really useful for you to understand. The first, your comfort zone. It's really like that's that familiar terminology to most people, I think. And interestingly, your comfort zone gets a bit of a bad rap in like personal development spaces. You hear things like, your comfort zone's great, but nothing ever grows there. And I sort of want to call bullshit on that. I feel like your comfort zone is where everything grows, because it's where your system actually has the resources for you to slow down and soften and relax and rest and refill and restore and repair. It's such an important state for you to know how to find your way back to and locate within. So from there, we move into what I call your learning zone. And this is where, you know, something happens in life intensifies, and your sympathetic nervous system switches on, and you go into what is commonly referred to as your fight or flight state. And this is you are preparing for, you know, you're seeking safety through taking action. You're preparing to either run away or to fight. But you're also feeling some more sensations in your system when you've stepped into your fight or flight space. You might feel a little like sweaty in the armpits. You might feel extra alert. You might feel hyper-focused. When we hang out here long enough, you also might start feeling anxious or irritable, or like you can't stop, like you can't actually stop and rest. You might want to control situations. That this is a state where way too many people are hanging out a lot of the time. And then if we hang out in your learning zone for long enough, or if we have a big enough life event, then you find your way into what I call your panic zone, which, as dramatic as it sounds, is your body preparing for death. And so you go into a form of collapse in your system, and you seek safety through, instead of the action taking of the learning zone, you start shutting down. So dissociating, collapsing, depression, fatigue, and ultimately burnout in this space is like your system just having been at threshold for so long and then not being able to take it anymore. And the comfort, learning, and panic zones are a tool that I use with women to help you bring, you guys may be super familiar with nervous system states and understanding your nervous system, but this can be such a useful way to go, where am I at right now? Or where do I hang out most of the time? And so on the right-hand side here, what I have is a question that's what happens in your body, your mind, and your emotions as your nervous system arousal increases. And when I talk about arousal here, I'm not talking about the sexy kind. I'm talking about just like your nervous system gets more activated. And I've also got a scale there. You can see there's a 0 in the center and there's a 10 at the outside. And this is such a useful measure, because so many women are so used to enduring situations that feel deeply uncomfortable to them, but they've just been sort of buckling up and keep on keeping on for so long that they don't notice until they're quite activated. It's like there's a degree of disconnect or numbness from low-level sensation. And so many women end up with activity addictions that they need to be doing all the time, and they don't feel like they can come home and rest, because the nervous system is like a car with the accelerator stuck on slightly. It's like, I don't know how to slow down. I don't know how to soften and be. And so a 0 in this scale is like, oh, I am as cool as a cucumber. I am totally deeply relaxed and soft and at ease and present and available for this moment. And a 10 is like, I am having a panic attack, or I am passed out, maybe. Like whatever your 10 is, these scales are going to be relative to different people because everybody's nervous system is different, and everybody's capacity to be with themselves at different levels of intensity, everyone has different tolerances to sensation in their systems. So a really interesting piece to talk about at this point is that where pleasure so often exists is like we have all these amazing cells in our skin that are so attuned to really light touch, that actually really gentle sensation is electrifying if we can slow down enough to let it in our nerve cells and our skin. When you move slowly and gently, wake up in a way that they don't if you put on more pressure. And so it's often in a actually relaxed nervous system state that pleasure becomes available, and that you can be more relational because you're not preoccupied with, oh my God, what 17 things do I need to do? And that email that I haven't responded to, and that issue that's going on with my staff member or my colleague or whatever it might be. It's when we're actually dropped into our parasympathetic system that we can be really open and available for connection. And this is where your intuition can come online, and you can feel more creative and playful. Now, in terms of our hormones as women, when we're talking about going out into that fight or flight state, our learning zone and our panic zone and beyond, we're talking about our adrenaline and our cortisol, like these stress hormones that we can so often run on if we're exhausted and pushing hard a lot of the time. Now, cortisol is essential for you to survive. So it's preferentially created over all of your other hormones. When your body gets the raw building blocks for some hormones, it will have a little, simplifying this, but it will have a little scan to go, okay, what do we need to make? Do we want some sex hormones that will help this woman feel connected to her body and her pleasure and her aliveness? Oh no, looks like we're just making a lot of cortisol this week. So we'll use these raw materials to make more cortisol, because if you are truly in a life or death, fight or flight state all the time, then that cortisol is the thing that keeps you alive, that keeps you away from the brink. I don't know if you guys have ever had the experience of feeling like you're in a really intense period of work and then you go on holidays, and when you actually stop, then you get sick. Has anyone had that experience? Totally. So that's the like, I've been running on adrenaline, I'm running on adrenaline, I'm running on adrenaline, and your body's like, okay, just more cortisol, because it's the thing that boosts your immune system. It's the thing that makes sure that you are like, I can keep going, but it's designed for short bursts. Yeah, like it's a biological function. It's super useful. It keeps us alive, but it's designed to be a like, oh shit, a thing, I'm going to respond to the thing, and then, I can go back to a state of softness and relaxation and ease rather than hanging out there and like burning through those raw materials and building blocks that can impact libido so much. It can impact sexual function so much. So many of my driven female clients have hormonal imbalance related to stress and just related to living in a stressed state a lot of the time, which is such a feedback from your system to explore lifestyle changes and different ways of moving through the world, like what you're going to be exploring tonight, but also, you know, more drastic changes around like looking at different working conditions and work hours and those sorts of things. Because if your system's giving you the feedback of like, I can't do this. Yes, there are things that you can do, but I'm also always really encouraging women to explore, hey, choosing to continue to work in a way that is detrimental to your system is not sustainable. So, hormonally speaking, we know that being in a stressed out state a lot of the time can take you further away from the hormones that bring more pleasure into your life. And we also live in a intensely dopamine oriented culture. We're like, do the thing, get the quick wins, like gobble up the intensity. And we want to do some rewiring of your bodies to start to enjoy oxytocin flavored pleasure, not just dopamine flavored pleasure. Do you guys know where you get your oxytocin from? Like, what are the oxytocin boosting activities that you can think of? Type them in the chat or just unmute yourself, shout them out. Maybe you know. It's a mystery. Skin contact? Totally.
Hugging.
Hugging,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Eye contact. Yeah, prolonged eye contact. Hugging. You can also get it from touching your own body. Exercise. Some forms of exercise, yes, but some forms of exercise can be really cortisol inducing as well. So we can also get oxytocin from being in nature, moving slowly, touching our own bodies, and also bringing our awareness into the more subtle sensations that are available in our life. Oxytocin flavored pleasure feels different to the like crack junkie dopamine pleasure. Yeah, it's like it's a different quality of pleasure. And so many women, if you remember those 3 concentric circles, so many women that I've worked with, when they're starting to learn to come back into their comfort zone and to really live there, they're like, oh, it feels a little bit boring. And I'm like, I get it, because you've been so used to the go, 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 and we're rewiring to listen more deeply to signs from your body that like, ah, this feels good. I can unwind. I'm like, this feels good. So I'd love to hear what's standing out for you so far before we climb any deeper. Anybody feel like there is something that's stood out to you so far, or what's percolating? There doesn't have to be. And you look like you want to share something. Yeah, go for it. Unmute yourself. Take up space. Get it.
I was trying to let other people go first.
No.
I really feel like through that diagram you're showing that I'm constantly on the go, trying to improve myself, trying to get there, trying to get there. It feels like a mountain, but I'm never getting to that plateau, or I have to force myself to have downtime because I'm always thinking I can do that other thing. I can do that other thing. And so what you said about finally going on holidays and then getting sick, that's what I'm doing, because I'm not having, I get little bits and pieces of like catch up with friends or a little bit of downtime, but I feel guilty sometimes having downtime at home. So how do I prioritize myself to get that balance right again?
Oh, I love that as a question. Thank you for sharing it. And I would be curious if anybody else feels like what they learned about themselves from that diagram. I can so relate, and to having been someone who was in the relentless pursuit of self-improvement and like working on my business and doing my things and like all the things. And this has been so prevalent in so many of my clients as well, that it's like, if you're constantly trying to like striving for something, there's also a really good chance that you're trying to get away from something. And that there can be this balancing act of learning to sink into the what is here when I stop. Is it guilt? Is it shame? Is it, is there an urgency here that's saying there's actually, I'm not good enough the way that I am. I need to do more. If I stop, I am lazy, and lazy is the worst possible thing that I could be. You know, it's different for, it's different for everyone. Like everybody's systems, obviously, and conditioning and experiences weave together to create a different matrix there. But that question of like, oh, what is here when I stop? And can I sink through the layers of that so that my desire to progress can come with less urgency, can come from a place of like passion and curiosity and patience and an enjoyment of climbing the mountain. Because, and as best as I can tell, we're going to climb this mountain until the day we die. So let's get really good at liking hiking, not just being like, I'm going to have so much fun when I'm at the top, because, you know, like it will be awful. Life will be awful. And that was such a hard one lesson for me. And I see this in so many women, that it's like taking life at the pace of a sprint when it's actually a marathon. Yeah. So thank you for sharing. I can so relate to what you've shared. And I think that I feel like, because of my work with women, I feel like I have this collective woman around me being like, yes, and we all understand. So you're not alone. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. It's very common. Very, very common. Anyone else want to throw something out there about that diagram or about what we've touched so far?
I can also really resonate with what you said, and as in, I have annual leave coming up in 3 days. Like, I'm counting down the sleeps until I have my annual leave. I can already feel my sore throat
I can hear it.
because it's just like, oh yeah, my body's like, oh yeah, we get some time off. Oh, you're not doing anything. So you get to be sick.
And it's fascinating. Hey, I think that there are lots of lessons in life if we look for them, and that sometimes it is interesting to me that it's like, oh, I'm not able to let myself have the downtime, and so I'm going to get sick because that will force me to have the downtime. And that's like a justifiable thing that I can say to other people, like, I've got a really bad virus, I need to stop. So, you know, I don't want to share it with the world. I don't want to, like, I'm actually really sick. That's why I need to rest, as opposed to it being okay to just
say
rest,
no.
to just say no, to just rest. That's right. And so, yes, I really hope that start sticking those multivitamins in there now.
Well, I mean, the flip side to that is also like, the last, for me personally, the last 6 months or so, I've had a whole, bunch of people I know under the age of 60 that have unfortunately passed away. And it's very much the realization that life is actually, or can actually be that short. And so it's very much taken, the really hard look in the mirror as like, so what are you doing with it? Not so much what, but how are you spending that time? And I'm finally putting my hand up and saying that, well, I'm actually spending my time feeling stressed predominantly most of the time. It's like that's just not a good way to live. Yeah, so moving into something that's less stressful in just taking time for myself. So I also feel the need to want to continue doing the work to personally improve and self-improve, and it's almost like the work is never done. But maybe the work shouldn't feel like work. Maybe it should just kind of be fun, like let's climb that mountain together and enjoy hiking. Yeah.
Yeah, really beautifully said, Jess. There's this Mesopotamian legend that I use as a teaching metaphor sometimes um, that there's this legend of this woman called Inanna that was the queen of heaven, and she descended to visit her sister in the underworld. And on her way to the underworld, she was stripped of all of her beauty and her worldly possessions and the things that gave her value and like recognition in the topside world. And when she made it to the underworld, she was hung on a meat hook for 3 days. And she ended up being rescued, and I'm paraphrasing a lot, by the way, but she ended up being rescued. And we have this term you might have heard, which is letting yourself off the hook. And there are, I use this as a metaphor for like the path of feminine awakening, like the heroine's journey. We hear a lot in culture about the hero's journey of going out there and slaying the dragon. But for so many women, the heroine's journey is the going down and in and getting good with, how am I spending my life? Am I willing to let myself off the hook from this idea of who I'm meant to be and what I'm meant to achieve, and like pleasing other people and all of the doing and producing that we do that is sacrificing your enjoyment of your life? And will you let yourself off that hook? Um, and give yourself permission to live a life that feels good, even if that means that, like, maybe you don't achieve in the same way. And you'll achieve other things. You'll totally achieve things. It's not about not achieving and putting that in the bin, but it's about taking a different, like widening the aperture on what life is meant to look like. Yeah. So
Can I say something, Nicole?
yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of like leadership stuff at the moment, and I've actually stepped back with some of the stuff that I'm doing, but I'm finding people are motivated to come near me, and I'm not doing that people pleasing anymore. I think I'm that safe place now for women to come and talk to. So I'm quite enjoying that at the moment, because 12 months ago, I was really off that scale, just, yeah, just really in a bad spot. And I know, I don't think it's maturity, but I just think, yeah, I'm just stopping now and stop that people pleaser. And then you sit back and you people watch, and I can see some women that are just trying to do too much, like in like life, work, kids, family. And I'm just thinking they're just burning themselves out. And I'm just like, yeah, I think a lot of women um are moving towards me because they can see that I've done a lot, but I'm not that stressed out person anymore. I'm calm, and they feel comfortable to express to me their concerns and stuff. And yeah, I just like to give them space to talk, and we can work out problems. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I love that you're being that space for women. The world needs this. Really, really does. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Jess. I love that you're asking those questions and that you're asking important questions for your life. And oof, what a mirror to look in our own mortality. This one like fleeting little experience that we have here. What are we going to do with it? Or as you said really beautifully, how am I going to do it? Yeah, I love that. You feeling like you want to share anything at this point, Kirsten? No? All good. Beautiful. Just wanted to check in before I continued. So let's talk about sex. And I mean sexual energy again. I said that at the start. So sexual energy, eroticism, that spark of creative power can be a spark that creates anything. It doesn't have to just be about creating human life, but it is a spark that can create like a feeling state in you, and that can then be like that aliveness can then be there for you to enjoy, just the feeling of, oh, hi, I'm alive. Or it can be poured into your creations, whatever they might be, whether that is the physical creation of a human, or whether that is a project or a business or a relationship or art or just your being. That creativity and that aliveness and that vitality can get poured into your life. And so I experience eros and erotic pleasure as such a underrated nutrient for our bodies, for our soul and our heart and our overall well-being. This is so life affirming. But it is also a space where we might have, depending on your life experiences and your family heritage and all the things, where you might have some real conditioning and dogma. Because between school and church and really well-meaning parents who, of our ages, lots of our parents' generation use shame as a lever to protect their kids, really well-meaning, but that was a thing that happened to a lot of people in our age group. This dogma and these layers of conditioning can really inhibit you giving yourself permission to feel good. And when you combine that with the culture that we exist inside of that is so oriented towards doing and achieving and success out there in the world, it's the perfect storm for us to grow up and learn how to neglect our pleasure, learn how to neglect our sexuality and our aliveness. So I wanted to presence that because I want to acknowledge whatever conditioning you're showing up with. And as I said, each of our life experiences are different. So each of you comes with a different story around what sex means to you and what your experiences have been. And maybe for some of you, it's like, oh my God, yes, sex, I love it. And maybe for some of you, it's like, wow, this is so laden with shame and pain and fear and regret and like, like held in yearning. And maybe we've got a combination of those things. And all of those options are really normal. And so I welcome all of your history and your content here around your pleasure. What we're talking about here is you giving yourself permission in a really mundane day-to-day way, because we're talking about like a concept here, but in a really mundane day-to-day way, this is about giving yourself permission to live a life that feels good. And how do I navigate the world in that state? How do I train my body out of living in that hyper aroused, always on, always got to do something state, and learn how to find the pathways in my body back to a place of, oh, that feels good. Even if I've got lots to do. Yeah, that this isn't something that I earn after I've like ticked off all the items on my to-do list. This is something that I can do my to-do list while I'm like, feeling myself, or I'm listening to sexy music, or I'm wearing something that feels beautiful on my skin, or I've got a bouquet of flowers in front of me that smell exquisite. And how is it that I cultivate a experience that supports inhabiting that state of pleasure, of aliveness, that I don't just sort of go to sleep and become a to-do list ticker offering machine? So I'm going to drop into a process with you now. I'm aware that we started a little late and I've talked for ages actually. I'd like to drop you guys into your bodies and actually explore this in a practice. But before we do that, is there anyone that would like to share anything? Anything to be shared? No? Okay. So I'm going to invite you all to pop your videos off. I'm also going to do the same. So we don't need to look at the screen. This is a practice for you to connect with yourself, with your body, with your pleasure. And I'm going to guide you every step of the way. We're going to drop into your body and connect with your physiology, connect with what feels good in your body, with your pleasure, with your eros. And then we're going to go into it, and you don't have to remember any of this. I like to frame up what's happening because it gives your mind the chance to rest. But then we'll connect with some of the things that might feel stressful about life right now, and we'll bring them in the presence of you being in contact with your pleasure, and we'll explore the relationship between those things. So I'm going to invite you to close down your eyes and just turn your attention inwards for a moment. And you don't have to try and do anything right now. This is all about you slowing down and connecting with yourself. And I want you to know that whatever you connect with, whatever you find when you turn your attention inwards is totally welcome. And so just taking some deep breaths into your belly, in through your nose, inflating your belly like a balloon. And out through parted lips, exhaling through your mouth. Softening your belly button away from your spine, softening your shoulders down away from your ears. Inflating the belly, filling up with the breath, and turning your attention inwards and noticing what is here. Saying hi to yourself. What is present? And whatever you notice is welcome. Maybe there's tiredness here. Maybe there's sadness or stress. Maybe there's aliveness and pleasure and relaxation. All of it is welcome. Maybe there's some back pain. So inflating the belly like a balloon, filling up, softening the belly button away from your spine, softening your shoulders away from your ears. And on your next exhale, just letting out a bit of a sigh, an audible, letting out your day. As you inhale, welcome whatever you notice in this internal world of yours. Welcome pleasure, welcome sadness, welcome all the sensations, welcome distraction. And letting it go, being willing to sigh out your day, the weekend, last week, welcoming it all. Just a few breaths like this in your own time. On your inhale, welcome everything that is present in you, and on your exhale, being prepared to let it go and make a little sound on your exhale, a little vibration of your vocal cords. So we're using some embodiment gateways here. We're using breath, we're using sound, and we're going to bring some more in. We're going to bring some movement and some touch in soon. These doorways into connecting with your body. And so whether you're in a blissed out, relaxed, self-connected space, or whether there's challenging sensations here, you are so welcome to be here just as you are. It is all welcome. Filling the belly up. sighing out through parted lips. And I want to invite you now to just begin making some circles with your pelvis. And you might want to sit forward to bring your back off the back of the chair so you can move your spine. Just making some circles with your pelvis, breathing right into the belly. Maybe it's a big circle with your hips, feeling the weight distribution shift from one sit bone back to the other, forward, feeling your weight undulating around between these sit bones, bringing your awareness down into your belly, filling up like a balloon with the belly, sighing out, softening the shoulders. Big undulating circles, softening your spine, breathing in, feeling your pelvis moving. I want you to imagine that your pelvis is like a bowl. And in that bowl is some warm liquid. And this undulating pelvis of yours is swirling this liquid around in your pelvic bowl. Maybe it's warm honey, or maybe it's more watery than that. Just noticing and breathing into the belly, undulating your pelvis, moving, swirling this liquid around in your pelvic bowl. Maybe you want to go the other way. Breathing right down into your hips, almost as if you could breathe into this pelvic bowl, feeling your weight distribution change between your sit bones, feeling your bottom on the chair, and noticing what's present. Noticing if there's feelings of, oh, this feels good. Maybe there's some discomfort. Welcoming again, whatever you notice. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Breathing right down into that pelvic bowl, undulating your hips and feeling yourself. Just noticing what is here, welcoming it all and starting to notice, oh, is there something here that feels good? What we're going to do in a moment is on your inhalation, as you breathe in, I'm going to invite you to squeeze your pelvic floor muscles. So as you inhale through your nose, filling up your belly like a balloon, and squeezing your pelvic floor as you do that. Inhaling, filling up, squeezing, and softening the pelvic floor. Relaxing, exhaling through parted lips. Let's do a few more breaths like that. Inhaling through your nose, squeezing your pelvic floor, filling your belly up. Exhaling through parted lips, softening your pelvic floor, undulating this beautiful pelvic floor, pelvic bowl. Noticing what is this like, and just following a breathing rhythm now for the next 30 seconds or so that feels natural to you. I'm going to back off my instructions a little bit and I want you to explore. Explore this undulating pelvic bowl, explore this squeeze of your pelvic floor as you inhale. And you'll sigh and you'll relax on your exhale. Full permission for this to feel good, full permission for this to feel a little awkward. Full permission to feel turned on. Full permission to feel numb or sad. Oh, yes, yes, yes to your experience. There's one more breath like that, and I'm going to add in another layer of instructions. Keep going. You guys are doing a beautiful job. Just keep leaning into this, however this looks and feels for you. If you hold your hands out in front of you with your fingers pointing down towards the floor, you should be able to make like an upside down triangle if you make contact with your thumb tips and your pointer finger tips. Fingers facing down to the ground in an upside down triangle. And I just want to invite you to take that triangle and place it on your body over your womb space. So whether you have a physical womb or not, just over that womb space below your belly, and keep breathing into the belly, squeezing your pelvic floor as you inhale. Exhaling through parted lips, letting there be just an organic, natural undulation of your spine, letting your body move in whatever way that it feels good. So with that, we're using these embodiment gateways again. We're using breath, movement, sound, and now touch. On your next inhale, I'm going to invite you to sweep your fingers upwards from your womb space, over your belly, between your breasts, across your heart, and then letting your hands separate above, like above your sternum, and sweep towards your shoulders, and then stretching your arms out nice and wide. So the way that's going to work is as you actually, I'm going to turn my video on for a moment. So if you do feel like you want some cues for that, you've got your upside down triangle. Feel free to check to look if you need to, but you don't have to. Placing that over your womb space on your inhale. Sweeping your hands up through the center of your chest and exhaling out wide, bringing your hands back down to the womb space again. And so we're going to do a few breaths like that. As you inhale, squeezing the pelvic floor. Exhaling through parted lips, relaxing the pelvic floor, finding the hands back on the womb space. And so taking that in your own time, this is a practice that is helping move some of that pleasure, some of that aliveness from your pelvic bowl that you've been swirling, and bringing it up through your body, through your heart. So we're breathing life force up through the body. And then we're softening and being willing to let it go as you separate the hands. And again, welcoming whatever you're noticing in this practice. This might feel really good. It might feel a little clunky. It might feel a little awkward or uncomfortable. Everything is welcome. So just breathing with this, noticing what feels good, letting your spine soften, letting your pelvic bowl move. And keep going with that breath, squeezing the pelvic floor on your inhale, sweeping the hands up the body. allowing this life force to move, and notice the sensations that are present in your body. What feels good? What feels alive? Or what feels enlivened? Can you let this goodness in to your cells? Can you let yourself rest into this practice and enjoy it? Can you let yourself soften into the subtlety of this and enjoy it? Can you let yourself be with your turn on and enjoy it? And I want you to trust this body of yours and follow what feels good. Moving your hips, softening your spine, feeling the pleasure in your body. Feel it in your heart, in your pussy, in your womb space, on your skin. Feeling it maybe in your hands or your back. Notice, where does this feel good in your body? And full permission now to drop the specific movements and just move however it feels good. Trusting your body, trusting what feels good, using those embodiment gateways, breath, movement, sound, touch, maybe bringing your hands to your thighs and giving them a bit of a squeeze, experimenting with moving 10% slower if you would like to feel more, descending into the subtlety. Letting there be some sound for whatever is present here. Full permission to bask in the glow of this life-affirming, nourishing goodness that is here. And maybe it's here in a little drop or a little trickle, or maybe it's here and it's a bit of a like, oh, maybe it's a bit of a wild torrent. And if that's you, like both of those are welcome, as well as anything in between. Yes, yes, yes to you. And this essence, this quality of life coming alive in your body more fully. Yes, to feeling good. So while continuing to stay in contact with what you have accessed here, this eroticism, this pleasure, I want you to keep breathing with this and keep moving your body if that feels good. And I also want to invite you to bring into your awareness something that might be happening in your life right now that feels stressful, feels challenging. Maybe it's a pattern with a family member or a colleague or a staff member. Maybe it's something about your health or workplace or relationship, just bringing in that quote unquote problem and bringing it into your awareness. And keep holding awareness of this challenge while feeling this pleasure, while moving and breathing with this pleasure. And my invitation here, ladies, is to bring some curiosity of like, oh, hi, I've been telling myself that this thing is a big problem. I've been relating to this as a problem. And maybe you have full permission to pick back up the idea that it's a problem at the end of this call if this doesn't resonate. But just for a moment, if you could put down the label of problem and feel this area of your life through the creativity and the resource of your pleasure, of your turn on and your feel good, what happens? How does this problem look now? Breathing with that and bringing your curiosity, bringing your open-mindedness, bringing your willingness to see this area of your life in a different way. Or maybe this will give you alarming clarity on something that you already knew, that something needs to change, or just noticing what happens when you hold both of these as real, because your human life is not designed to just be problem solving and productivity. And it's also not just pleasure and goodness and warm honey. It's both. But too often we abandon what feels good for ticking the pragmatic things off, as we've talked about. And so this is training, this is practice to be with both and to see what happens. And so we're going to do this for another minute or so. I'm going to shut up and stop talking and let you just be with yourself. Keep breathing with this pleasure and this challenge. Just keep learning from this dynamic like combo, and see if you can put one foot in each. One foot in what feels good and one foot in, oh, this is a challenge and this is important to me. So another few breaths with this. And finding your way in your own time back into stillness. And just taking in what is present now. What has been enlivened in your body? What does your body feel like? What is happening in the realm of your thinking? What is the quality of your thinking like? How do your emotions feel? What is present? And what did your pleasure have to say to you about this challenge, this life stress that you brought? Maybe there were beautiful lessons there from your pleasure, from the wisdom of your pleasure around this life challenge. When you're ready, You're going to find your way back to the space by opening your eyes and orienting yourself in your physical space. And then finding your way back to the group by switching your camera back on when you're ready. And I named at the start this very common thing that I see a lot of women do, which is putting their pleasure and their production into separate boxes. And what I want for you to be able to take from this is the felt sense experience that that doesn't have to be the case. We can have access to both. You can have the what feels good and the what needs to be done or what feels hard. And you can be with them both. And so I would love to open the floor and see if there are any shares of what that was like for you, what you noticed, what came up. Anyone feeling like sharing? What was that practice like?
I like doing the breathing, but sometimes I have trouble with my mind racing. I'm like I'm in a constant battle sometimes when I'm trying to relax, is to try and stop that overthinking happening. Yeah. So,
So the
but
mind getting away into other stuff. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I really understand that, Deb, and thank you for sharing it. I think that's a really normal thing that lots of people are with. And it is that like practice of how much we can cultivate power over our focus. Like our
Yeah. So I'm in a constant battle. I'm like, no, I'm trying to relax and I'm trying to push that out of the back of my mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing it. And I think that there'd be lots of people that can relate to that. And I would love to say it's so important not to go to war with that part of yourself that is thinking, right? It's like you don't need to fix it. That's not a problem. It's just like, oh, I'm thinking again, and I can bring my attention back to the breath or the sensation or the whatever I'm doing. It's that practice of entraining the focus and the attention to what we do want and not shaming or criticizing and going to war with the thinking part. So thank you for naming that. What else happened? I'm curious.
I've definitely found that, the more I sort of sat with allowing myself to feel the pleasure side of it all, it was almost like the whole stressful side of it is, you're only really doing this to yourself, Jess. I know that like our conditioning and our external environment, all of those little things sort of happen. But realistically, for me anyway, the standards that I hold myself to are essentially the ones that I can also not hold myself to. And so it's sort of, like we can hold that simultaneously pleasure and doing work. It's almost like I have the ability to control the situation of where I feel stressed in, and I'm actually choosing stress over not stressed.
Yeah.
Unconsciously, even.
Yeah, absolutely. Like habitually, unconsciously, whatever you want to call it. And it's like I love that bringing pleasure and permission for pleasure in gave you more access to that honesty.
Mm.
And I think it can be really easy when you're up in your head and like moving quickly through the world to believe, oh, I have to do these things. This is the standard. This is what people expect of me. But when you slow down and contact those deeper layers of like, oh, what actually feels good to me, then all of a sudden the honesty can come of like, I'm choosing this. I'm holding those standards. What feels good to me? So thank you for sharing it. And I love the journey that you're on. It sounds very powerful and full of potential. Anyone else feeling like they want to share their experience? No pressure. No problems. Beautiful. So, my invitation for all of you ladies is that there is a current of aliveness and pleasure that is available in life. It's not just about having a sex act with another person or with ourselves, that pleasure and feeling good is something that we can learn to inhabit more and more, and also a state that is deeply nourishing for your nervous system, that you can like entrain yourself to and learn to access and rest into and enjoy even while you're doing your taxes, or whatever it might be that you've got going on in your life. And it is that piece that we spoke to of like, well, what are you choosing? And where are you going to put your focus and your attention in this one little precious life that we have? So thank you for coming along and joining me this evening. It's been a delight to climb in and share this material with you and guide this little practice. I would love to share with you ladies and everybody tuning into the recording as well that in service of pleasure and feeling good, I am in the process of planning a day workshop at the Peninsula Hot Springs for a group of women. And so I'll make a note about that. The date isn't locked in yet. I'll make a note about that in the follow-up email tomorrow. And if you're curious about joining me with a small group of women for a day at the hot springs to both rest and recharge and enjoy the hot water and the bathing, but also then to do some self-reflection and exploration around how you bring that aliveness and nourishment into your life, then would love to share it with you guys. So I'll pop that in the follow-up email. Thank you again. And that brings us to a close for the evening. If there is nothing else that wants to be shared tonight, any other voices in the house? Otherwise, we will wrap it up. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, ladies, and happy Monday. Enjoy the week ahead. Thank you. Yeah, you're so welcome. Thanks for being here. I appreciate that.
Thanks very much. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no problems. I'm glad. You guys enjoy the rest of your evening and your week, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you.